You know, you know what's great about the Iconoclast Summit? You never know who you're going to meet and bump into. And so we have a nice surprise here. We have Austin Russell with us, who, right, as most of you know, CEO of Luminar Technologies. He started that when he was 17 years old. He was on the cover of 30 Under 30. You're on the 30 Under 30 Hall of Fame, in fact, Austin. And at 25, you were the youngest self-made billionaire in the world. But the reason I think this is, so we'll talk about Luminar, but the reason I think this is a really fun session is because a few weeks ago, Austin signed the deal to lead the buyout of Forbes. So welcome to the Forbes family, and welcome to Iconoclast, Austin.
Well, thanks for having me here too. This is so great to be part of, and like I said, what an amazing community and amazing lineup there too. It certainly speaks to it. Great to see some familiar faces all around.
So so the big question: what's a nice 30 under 30 cover like you buying Forbes?
Well, I think we've had some great role models there too that have done similar kinds of things. But when it comes down to it, I think what's really interesting about Forbes in this case is that it's not just about daily news reporting, other stuff. It's really an incredible brand behind it, and I think just by the sheer nature that you're able to attract such amazing people here to the table, and the way they've been able to connect with amazing people over the years, even at Forbes events, has been able to be massively helpful for even my company Luminar along the journey in a way. And when it comes down to it, I think you guys have such an incredible business here at the table that looking forward to being able to help define the future for the expansion and growth of what it will be for the future.
So you're very trendy. We have Bezos bought the Washington Post and Benioff at Time, and Elon Musk, of course, with Twitter. So it seems to be the new sports team is a media company. But what have you learned? What are some of the lessons from those? And I could name a few myself.
Yeah, exactly. I think
good and bad.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think in the case of like some of these other more traditional media publications or platforms like Washington Post or Time, other stuff like that, good businesses there too, and awesome to see people stepping up to be able to preserve the sanctity of American journalism more generally when it comes to their friends like that. But when it comes down to it, I think actually in this case it's probably more the opposite of what would be in the Twitter type situation. I don't and won't be hands-on or have a day-to-day operational role with Forbes, rather setting up, like I said, a great board of folks, of leaders for next gen, American media, AI, technology, to be able to help grow the brand. But I think what's interesting in the Forbes case is that, like I said, it's already an incredible, very profitable business right off the bat. There's no
we make
turnaround.
Money.
Yeah, exactly. And seriously, hats off to the entire Forbes team there too for what you guys have built. And yeah, just totally incredible. But that said, there's a lot more left to do. I think it's still probably at a fraction of the potential of what it can be able to do. And there's already those early indicators of opportunities for what's ahead. It really is that platform for what you can be able to scale growth with. And not to mention it's got to be either one of the, if not the largest, business media publication in the world at this stage. So, like I said, hats off.
Appreciate that. So tell us about the structure. How are you going to structure this?
Yeah. So in terms of the structure for this, basically, so I've signed the deal with Integrated Whale Media. It's based out of Hong Kong to be able to acquire. This is done through my. As part of my family office there too, that was able to get this done, and like I said, excited to help be a visionary for the future of this. As I mentioned, won't have a day-to-day operational role by any means, but when it comes down to it, great to be able to have other supporters and backers along the way. Like I said, as part of the broader Forbes community, when it comes down to it, great entrepreneurs, investors there too, and yeah, from all over. So, of course, nothing is done until ultimately final allocations and how we decide to set it up. Kind of like, it's not too dissimilar from the Twitter case with Elon in terms of how you kind of structure the allocation, how you syndicate out parts of the stake.
Yep.
I think it's great to be able to have other people along for the journey and ones that are part of this Forbes community and even on stage. So
How will control work when you talk about that structure?
So from a control standpoint, and this is an important one, that the control is maintained, through my family office there too, so basically 82% control. And that's something that, like I said, we look to maintain, and well, frankly, have to contractually maintain for any foreseeable future. So excited to be able to help have the opportunity to be able to make this difference. Again, I think the key is that getting the right people from a board standpoint there too, to be able to help usher in this new era of capitalism, business for good, philanthropy as the driver behind why we want to be able to do this and take the brand to the next level.
Before you got involved, there were reports of an international consortium working on a buyout. Is that still part of the plan in terms of international investors?
Well, actually, what we have at the table today in terms of subscriptions I have or LPs is actually a majority from America. There are two from the U.S. But that said, I think it's actually great to be able to have the opportunity to welcome a big presence from the international community. I mean, the thing is that Forbes is a very international brand, and that's some of the biggest expansion opportunities for what it has ahead. So ultimately getting a cap table that's in line with the world and geographically will be a very good thing. And that said, I think when you take a look at the readership, what is probably just as much U.S. readership as there is international readership there too, that's there, but disproportionate in terms of the revenue. So it's a great opportunity for growth, and excited for the future for all of that.
Great. So majority American, global outlook.
Yeah. I actually have over $500 million in subscriptions from great American investors, entrepreneurs alone as part of this. So, like I said, it's incredible support from all around, from the Forbes community, from the iconoclasters, and even some folks featured in Forbes as well in a lot of these cases. So it's great.
So you got a $500 million circled from around America. The reports, so the deal's at somewhere in the neighborhood of $800 million, which I think is cheap, but I'm buying it. Others have said it's expensive. How do you feel about the price?
Yeah, no, I mean, my honest take of this is that it represents a small fraction of the overall potential. I was pretty blown away by how, I can say this now the deal's signed, how cost effective it is, to be able to acquire Forbes. My honest take is that the brand itself already underwrites the deal and the economics, and everything in terms of the growth is upside beyond that. And there's clearly just a huge amount of upside when it comes to, like I said, kind of transformation. Forbes is not a traditional media brand by any means. I mean, we've even seen some struggles of some of the like new media models and what's out there today. I think that Forbes is just an incredibly lasting brand that's been around for over a century, that just does a lot of very good things for capitalism, and does it better than anyone else in the world. And I don't think that will change anytime for the next 100 years either.
We have Steve Forbes right here, so continuity, it's great.
Exactly. And thanks Steve and the whole family for the support on all of this too. Excited for the future.
What in terms of strategic vision, what are some of the things you think when you look at Forbes that you think you can help us bring?
Yeah, so I think in terms of the kind of folks that we want to get involved, so you said sort of next gen media, tech, AI, from America, and I think that will, for the first time, if you get the right minds, thinking about the problems and being able to help set that new vision to usher in this new era of capitalism, it'll be very, very valuable and important. And I'm big on philanthropic missions as well. I personally donated, 70 million.
You're on the Forbes 50 biggest givers list last year. So,
yeah.
So it must be true.
Appreciate it. Yeah, but I was actually surprised, honestly, that I was like, I mean, I'm doing fine, but there's also a lot of successful billionaires in the world there too, as Forbes over 2000, and it was surprising to me, particularly at such an early stage of your career, that like it was already having that big of an impact from a philanthropic standpoint. And I think it's very clear, and this was part of a core driver behind what I saw with the Forbes case, is that honestly, any dollar that it could give to any kind of single specific cause, you'd have way more opportunity and leverage, Forbes case for encouraging, philanthropy around the world. I mean, it's just, like I said, amazing to see the support from, all the major folks on the Forbes 400 and the Warren Buffetts of this world just championing the cause for this. And like I said, what an incredible community. There's a lot more that we can do from a philanthropy standpoint. And as an overall philosophy, and this really goes back to the vision of why, I think the important part is that being able to build value economically from a capitalistic standpoint, but at the same time, building value for the world. When you can align those two things together, that's where the magic can happen. And that's really where the stuff that we've been doing with Luminar comes into play. Is that and why I've been so inspired with this is that obviously with Luminar I have a very capitalistic mission. I do hope to be able to build it into one of the great technology companies of our generation, and fully plan to be able to do that and execute on that. And that's where we're spending the time. But when it comes down to it, there's also that mission-driven aspect of this. And this is the kind of thing where it gets really interesting, of like saving lives and saving people's time while also executing on that capitalistic business plan. So that's where, looking forward to being able to help encourage the opportunities for sort of the Luminars of other industries to be able to sprout. And it starts off with younger entrepreneurs. It starts off with the next generation, and I think that's where obviously Forbes has done a great job with getting people engaged, early on with the 30 under 30s and other things of this world. But that's where we can have an incredible impact, more than any amount of money it could possibly give from a philanthropic standpoint with Forbes for the world. So very excited for that future.
If you want to change the world, create 1 billion jobs, and you're changing the world. But let's talk about Luminar. Before that, do you see a day-to-day role at Forbes for you?
No. Like I said, it's. I think there are areas that can be helpful in when it comes to beyond just being the visionary, providing some specific insight. Like obviously, on the Luminar side, I've fortunately been able to, over the past decade, gain a lot of experience. It takes a lot more than a great technology to build a great business, build a great company. But that's the kind of thing where early on you have to fight every day for your right to exist against the Googles and Apples and every major automotive company on the planet that's trying to do exactly what you're doing. We were able to win and beat all of that out, and now are executing to take it to the moon. But when it comes down to it, I think in the Forbes case, this is not something that's it's a very different kind of business altogether, and it's a very more steady state business. I think the key is that how do you apply those same overall principles from a vision standpoint to realize that growth? And I have to say, Forbes is it's got to be one of the fastest growing, maybe even the fastest growing major media platform. I mean, you could actually see some of the numbers were public from a couple of years ago. It was pretty impressive. So
we say we're a 106-year-old startup. So
106-year-old startup, exactly.
So speaking of startups, with Luminar, how you just mentioned Apple and Google and his Waymo. I mean, for the non-LiDAR fluent here, what's Luminar's differentiation?
Yeah, so from Luminar standpoint, I think the key distinction there is that we've really all been focused around being able to enhance drivers rather than replace drivers when it comes to the overall autonomous vehicle world. And a very different approach or strategy than I think what's been taken, as you said, with the Waymos or Cruises or Argo, Aurora, Zoox, Motional, like all these other businesses and brands that are owned by also sort of major tech companies and automotive companies. And my big bet was that it's funny, despite being in the autonomous vehicle industry, I'm also probably the biggest autonomous vehicle industry skeptic, which there's all these promises of driverless dreams and everything that was going to happen by, 2021, 2022, where we'd welcome our robot overlords. Obviously, that didn't happen.
My kids don't want to learn to drive. They're like, don't worry, Dad. The cars are going to drive for me someday. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and the thing is that, it turns out that it's just an extremely complex problem. It's actually, obviously what's exciting, with the greater advent of AI and other things that, as we've seen in the news, this is something that we've been working through. Is it turns out like building AI to be able to solve every possible edge case of every problem is really, really hard, because it's not just like a I don't know, the chat GPTs of the world, where if it gets the answer 99% right, like, fantastic. Like that's pretty good. That's a pretty good outcome with this. If you miss 1 out of every 100 people when driving, yeah, not so good of an outcome. So
you've got the airplane engine dilemma, right?
Exactly. And it's the same kind of problem for aircraft and whatnot. Is that you basically have to be almost perfect, and that's the whole point in the Luminar case. So you have this LiDAR sensor. That's able to measure down to centimeter level precision everything around it to know the exact ground truth of where everything is. And it turns out you can fundamentally transform, safety in automotive and be able to enhance the driving experience. It's crazy. Is that I think, by some reports, I think between like ages 1 and 44 is that automotive accidents are the leading cause of death. It's 1.5 million lives lost every year, as much as 50 million injuries. So we have a great vision to be able to solve for that, but it's something that I'm very passionate about and excited about, and this is where ultimately we're launching this and the first to actually bring it into real production consumer cars, and actually will be in hand. So we're launched already in China with SAIC, largest automaker there. Got Volvo that's coming up around the corner for production.
But I think the most interesting partnership, your Mercedes, et cetera, but your NVIDIA partnership to me was the most. I thought that was a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. And NVIDIA is, and those guys are crushing it there too. And like I said, honored to have been chosen as their exclusive partner for the platform that they have. And I think the work that's being done and that we've been doing in AI, they've been doing in AI. And the collaboration for what they've been leveraging from our hardware and LiDAR has been absolutely amazing. And the perfect example of that is actually with Mercedes there too. So it's a kind of implementation of where they were initially planning to put us in one vehicle model as part of like their highest end vehicle model. You guys are probably familiar with the name of. They recently announced a few months ago they're now going to be putting Luminar across the majority of the new vehicle models and plans. So it's very exciting times as part of a multi-billion contract. So we've been executing like no tomorrow. We've met every milestone, every execution track record for our overall business and financial target. So yeah, gotta just keep at it.
Now you're a public CEO. The downside is I get to know everything about you and your company. So I looked and I saw over the last few weeks you're buying. You bought I think about $21 million worth of stock over the last few weeks, but you're already really obviously heavily invested. So what's with that? What are you doing?
Yeah. No, it's true. I'm all in with Luminar, and I think it's
Forbes. We could use that money.
Yeah, we could use that money. Well, the interesting thing is that actually in the case of both Luminar and Forbes, it doesn't, like in the case of Luminar, we don't actually need money. Like we have enough capital on the balance sheet to be able to get to profitability with this, and actually will be the first, would certainly hope for, to be profitable in this whole, as a like autonomous vehicle type company, because it's going into production there too, and we have long-term, 10-year type deals and contracts with major automakers, on the order of $3.5 billion in contracts. So, we have the opportunity to do exactly that. And the thing is that in the Forbes case there too, it's actually already profitable there too. It's a great profitable business that has been stood the test of time for 100 years, and I think that's where we're looking forward to being able to set the vision. But I do genuinely believe that for when it comes to a capital market standpoint, there's a lot of craziness out there. There's a lot of overhang from SPACs and other kinds of things there that are just completely nonsensical. And that's why I've personally signed up to reach, targets that are, as much as 10x the valuation of what we stand currently from Luminar over the next few years here.
Well, it's funny, you just triggered something. You mentioned 100 years. You've been talking about 100-year. Listen, you're young enough that you might even see a 100-year vision. But I've heard. We all have 3-year plans, 5-year plans. What's a 100-year plan?
Yeah,
why and what does that look like?
Forbes Life Extension Technologies.
Living Plus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Forbes Living Plus. But for real, I do actually think that it's very important when you look at this, and just as we're doing in the case of Luminar, to be able to take a very long-term perspective that stands the test of time. And so with Luminar, I actually have this 100-year vision ahead to be able to save as many as 100 million lives and 100 trillion hours out on the road over the next 100 years. And it's bold, it's aggressive, but the reality is that as we solve the problem around vehicle accidents, and frankly, just something as simple as not allowing your car to smash into the thing right in front of you, which is how most accidents happen, then that will save just countless lives. I mean, seriously, like 100 million people. That's the opportunity. And I think that's the philanthropic and business for good aspect of what we can do. And I think the interesting part, though, is that Forbes has been around for 100 years there. And this is something that it's already pioneered to become a leader in representing the next-gen capitalism, and looking forward to shepherding that to what capitalism 2.0 really means. But looking forward to being able to set that 100-year vision for Forbes for what's next, and be able to see it through. So.
I hope to be there too with you. I appreciate
Exactly.
Again, appreciate your time. Now, Austin didn't want to do this, but we dragged him out because it's Iconoclast, and we like to have good conversations with great people. So you're already a great steward for the brand. We appreciate your time. I know we're way over time, but thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.